today we'll come back on something that is at the very core of Jaquet-Droz's identity, the automata dimension, and we'll quickly come back on the history of Pierre Jaquet-Droz, the man that gave his name and legacy to the brand. And we will do so by going over the fabrication process of the Lady 8 flower, the automata version of a watch which takes this 8 design feature with regular Lady 8 timepieces. You'll find the timepiece indication in the lower part of this watch, and the upper part consists of a rotating marble which you can play around with, but in the automata version this is where you will find this animated flower which opens and turns on itself on demand. But first let's go back on Pierre Jaquet-Droz, and I've already mentioned the high-tech dimension that watchmaking had over the past centuries in terms of mastering time, the quest for precision and its impact on the development of our society. But with Pierre Jaquet-Droz we can also include the impact on robotics. In the mid-18th century, the Jura Mountain and its many watchmaking ateliers and talented people represented some kind of Silicon Valley of the time. And additional to watchmaking craft, and simply put, the development of micromechanics, well, this allowed the production of some incredible objects, of which the automata was the most impressive and fascinating example of. Pierre Jaquet-Droz was really a genius, and he spent years and years in the development and manufacturing of what we call today androids. Imagine this: he developed a robot called the Writer, which you can program to write 40-letter long text. There's a programming wheel in the back of the droid. You choose the order of the letters, and the droid will actually then write this on a piece of paper once you activate it. Imagine the complexity of such mechanisms with the tools of the days. Well, in total there are 3 known droids like this one. You have the musician, the draftsman, additional to the writer, and they can all be seen in the History Museum of Neuchâtel. This gave Mr. Jaquet-Droz an immense international fame, and he would travel throughout European courts to present these exceptional achievements to the delight of simply flabbergasted audiences. On top of these robots, Jaquet-Droz also produced some other incredible automatas, slightly more traditional, if we can say this, where these ones would bring to life scene in the nature, singing birds, flower streams, flowers, and naturally, with generally a clock somewhere in the middle. It's this legacy that today's Jaquet-Droz is trying to maintain by bringing this automata dimension inside wristwatches. And we've seen a fine example of this with the Charming Bird and Bird Minute Repeater watches. So we know and have already talked about Jaquet-Droz's strong know-how when it comes to métier d'art, these fine crafts such as engraving, enameling, micropainting, special marquetry techniques. But today we really wanted to come back on this very unique automata dimension and visit a bit more in detail the various ateliers where these modern interpretations are being carried out. Despite the fact that we're talking about micro-engineering, the parallel between watchmaking and automata technique stops a bit here, because the simple fact that you work with volumes instead of assembling flat gears, well, this involves a very different way of developing and manufacturing these various parts. So from a simple idea and always linked with nature, the design team of Jaquet-Droz will work on how to match these design ideas with the mechanical constraints you will find in a watch, in particular the size of the object. So it's no surprise that the design team shares the same office as the construction team, as interaction between the two is simply a must in the development phase of these objects. Regarding the watchmaking aspect, well, we are more or less in known territory and things are rather classical, but when it comes to activating this flower animation, well, you have to take energy from somewhere, bring it to somewhere else, and make this entire mechanism as reliable as possible, meaning that the wearer should be able to activate as much as she wants the opening of the flower without any worries or breakage or misuse. You want the petals to open harmoniously and be consistently synchronized, otherwise it would simply lessen the poetic feeling of the animation. You want that brilliant ruby to turn on itself at a constant speed and then slow down gently before it stops. These are all minute details that are simply integral to the overall appreciation of the animation and requires a lot of testing and development. The final assembly takes place in a dedicated automata atelier where 2 persons will work on these fine timepieces and will extensively test yet again all these fabulous objects. I know there are still some untold secrets in terms of how they develop these automata movements, and hopefully will be part of a future report, because though I will not wear a Lady A flower myself, I could totally see myself with a charming bird on the wrist. Must be quite interesting to see the reaction of people around you with such an object on the wrist, and therefore maybe reenacts the same type of excitement these first droids must have had on the public of the 18th century. See you soon, all the best!